Yes, the topic for today is anger. We will talk about anger in detail so that end of the program you will realize how to be happy and how to not get angry and how to refrain from anger. So stay with us. We will tell you the teaching of our Supreme Buddha to help you be happier than you are. So to start our today's discussion, Manin Mahansa, what our Supreme Buddha, how has he explained about anger? What does it mean by anger with the use of suttas and Dhammapada? Could you kindly explain to our viewers what is it about anger? What is it that Supreme Buddha has spoken about anger?
Yes, before we get into talking about anger, we must first know what anger really is. And so we must realize that anger is something that we all feel. I don't think there's anyone in this world who does not feel anger, unless you're someone who has completely abandoned anger. And so what anger really is it's an unpleasant, a resentful, a feeling of displeasure upon seeing things we don't like. When we experience things we don't like, we feel angry. Or when we're in a very stressful situation, for example, then the chances of us getting angry is much higher. And also the Supreme Buddha explains that there are some people who are always angry. There's no reason, but they're always in an angry mood. So in this way we can see that anger is something that's always around us. And the Supreme Buddha explains there are actually different forms of this unpleasant feeling, or rather different degrees of this unpleasant feeling. The Supreme Buddha explains the first level of this unpleasant feeling is known as ill will. And what ill will is it's a very momentary feeling of unpleasantness, a displeasure. So for example, if you see someone who you don't like, you would feel ill will towards that person. It's a feeling of unpleasantness. And if that unpleasantness, if that displeasure continues further, then it can turn into anger, the Supreme Buddha has explained. And what anger is when that unpleasant feeling arises over and over again within you. So for example, suppose something happened and you got angry with a certain person, and then the next time you see that person, you feel angry again. You feel that unpleasant feeling.
You remember that
the situation.
You got angry,
exactly.
Yes.
So now you have not stopped that feeling there. You have continued it with you. And so the next time you see that person, you feel that unpleasant displeasure, that resentful feeling again, and so that's considered anger. And when you become angry, what happens is you don't want. The Supreme Buddha explains in one sutta, when you feel this anger, you don't want to see the other person being successful. The Supreme Buddha explains, you don't even want to see that person sleeping well. You don't want to see that person having good friends around him. You don't want to see that person being successful in life.
You basically want him to be unhappy and sad.
Exactly, and that's what you want when you feel anger. And the Supreme Buddha explains, when that anger comes to even greater degree, it turns into hatred. And when it comes to hatred, what happens is you come to the point where you actually want to take revenge from that person. And the Supreme Buddha explains, when it comes to this point where you feel hatred, it can even continue from one birth to another. So it's very serious. So anger is something that we really must be very mindful of. And if we can try to get rid of that unpleasant feeling at the very moment, then it won't develop further.
Do you think that your anger has come from the outside in and now you want to let it out again? Are you sure that the anger is coming from the outside? That is a counter question. In English, we learn how to deal with our anger, how to take care of our anger. Anger is not something pleasant. It's like the mud. But without the mud, we cannot grow lotus flowers. So the mud is useful somehow. So your anger is useful somehow. So maybe you should not get it out. you should not throw it away. If you know how to make good use of your anger, you can grow the lotus of peace, of joy, of forgiveness. And this is a very deep teaching in Plum Village. We have been learning about this. Anger comes up not from the outside, but from the inside. Because we do not understand, and that is why we cannot love. And if we look deeply, we listen deeply, we'll be able to understand. And when we understand, there is love. And when there is love, anger just transforms itself. You don't have to take anger and throw it away. In fact, anger is something that you can use, and if you hold that anger in understanding, in compassion, then anger becomes something like love, like compassion.
So after a few days, the boy's parents has said, now since this girl has already come, the parents has felt pity for this girl and told the boy to get married. But then again, after they got married, after a few weeks, they started quarreling and fighting. Then the boy wanted to divorce. But then again, the police has united them. But then again, while they were having a big fight, the girl has died. Now this person is imprisoned. So the first question that I asked him was, now you are suffering mentally. Now you are suffering because of the own wife. The reason you ended up with anger, quarreling and fighting each other, both of you are quarreling and fighting each other, that's because not because of anything else. The reason is you trained yourself to do drawings and do painting, but you did not try to develop your mind to control your anger. You were concerned about drawing and paintings and becoming popular and getting popular, becoming famous by doing various paints. But I asked him, did you try to control your anger from small age while doing these things? He said no. That's the mistake. So while learning various subjects in the school, we should learn something that will help us to control our lust. Lust means when you see pleasant things, you get attracted. Then we should be able to control anger. If not, see, now he was a good painter. Finally ended up staying in the prison. Lucky I went there to talk to him. Then the third one is delusion. Now first he suffered from lust, didn't he? When he saw that girl, he has got to know this girl through Facebook. When the girl liked him, he also liked the girl initially, then he suffered from lust. Now because of lust he got attached. Didn't he? He got attached. Then after getting attached, what happened? That external object, didn't it start changing, that girl? Her true nature? She started changing. Then what happened? Since these pleasant things are impermanent and not under our control, what happens? He got angry with that person. Finally, what happens? The anger really went to an extreme. They fought and one person died. And now he is suffering. That is because of what? Why he is suffering? Because of delusion. Now he is sad, mentally ill. That because what? That's because he regret now. Why?
Anger, that anger is within you. So, actually, in one sutta, the Supreme Buddha explains a beautiful story. And the Supreme Buddha explains, at one time, there was someone named Vedehika. And she was very famous as being very meek and gentle and very peaceful, someone who is very calm in life, someone who does not get angry. And so she had a servant named Kali, and the servant wanted to know, she wanted to test
The patience.
yeah, she wanted to test her patience and her to see whether it's actually true that she doesn't get angry. So what this servant did is one day she got up really late. Now the servant is a very clever girl. She's very smart. She does all her work on time. So there's nothing that the Lady Vedika has to worry about. So now one day what happened is she got up a bit late. And so Lady Vedehika came to this servant, Kali, and asked, Kali, why did you get up late? And so Kali replied, Madam, nothing's the matter. I just, got up a bit late.
No big reason.
Exactly. And so at that moment, by the tone of Lady Vedehika's voice, Kali figured out, oh no, there is anger within my mistress. And so she thought, okay, I'm going to test this further. And then the next day also, she got up a bit late. And then the next day, Lady Vedehika came and she asked Kali. Her tone was a bit harsher than the first day.
Before,
and she asked, why did you get up so late? And then again, Kali replied, Madam, nothing is the matter. I just got up late. And so Kali knew, okay, it's true. Then my mistress do feel anger within her. Now I'm going to test her out even more. Now on the third day, she got up even more late. And again, Mistress Vedehika was very angry. What she did was she took a rolling pin and she started to hit her maiden Kali, and of course Kali ran away and from the house, and she started to say, look at Mistress Vedika, who used to be known as meek and gentle. Look at what she did to me.
It's not what she looked.
Exactly. So from that, what the Supreme Buddha explains is, some people are very gentle and meek and peaceful for as long as they get everything they want. So as long as everything is done in the work, as long as everything is done in the house, then there's nothing to arouse the anger. But the moment things don't go the way they want, then that anger gets aroused. So what we can learn from that is the environment we are living in can really influence whether we get angry or not. So just because you may be peaceful and very calm in one place, when those conditions change, those thoughts of anger will surface and arouse. So
we can ask our friends also to be watchful of the people that they associate, and then to see whether they cannot just come to conclusions. People don't get angry by the look of it.
Absolutely, yes.
How do I deal with anger? Suppose that you are meditating and you feel anger coming up, but how do you deal with that? Or suppose you're not meditating his own deeds anyway. We do not need to be angry with a person. It's much better if we develop kindness and compassion and understand that when we act out of anger, we will also receive the consequences of our deeds. So it's the best not to be too concerned about other people, what other people do, what other people don't do, but better to concentrate on our own actions. So this is in short what the Buddha said about how to deal with anger. First of all, loving kindness. Secondly, compassion. Thirdly, equanimity. Fourthly, not to pay attention to the person. And fifthly, to reflect on the law of karma, that we are all the owner of our own deeds, of our own actions.
And so we have to realize this fact and then understand the fact that that anger is actually dangerous. So understand the dangerous side of anger. I think throughout the program we did talk about the dangers of anger, not only to ourselves, not just even physically, but it has a long-term effect on your
samsara.
Exactly, in terms of samsara. And not only yourself, the fact that you get angry can have an effect on other people, even a society, can affect a whole society negatively. And so in reply to this big problem that we all have, this flame of anger, the Supreme Buddha explains the way to extinguish, put out, cool down this flame of anger is loving kindness. So our great teacher, the Supreme Buddha, is the greatest person who has the most loving kindness in this world. You cannot compare the Supreme Buddha's loving kindness to anyone in this world. And so the Supreme Buddha, having loving kindness, having spread loving kindness, having a heart of loving kindness himself, our great teacher introduces this principle, this new principle to us, because loving kindness is not something that that's a natural part of us. It's something that we have to build in ourselves. Because if we had loving kindness within us, then chances are we would have been already out of this samsara. But what's really natural part of us is the anger. And so the Supreme Buddha explains this is something that you really have to build in within yourself. And so in order to do that, you have to spread loving kindness. And what loving kindness in Pali, it's known as metta. And what metta means is friendliness. And so you have to understand, if you're friendly towards yourself, then you would never hurt yourself, would you?
No.
And if you're friendly towards others, you wouldn't hurt other people, isn't it? If you're friendly towards your neighbors, if you're friendly towards your family, then you wouldn't go and hurt their feelings. You wouldn't say things to hurt them. You wouldn't do things to hurt them. So in this way, the Supreme Buddha explains, metta is friendliness. So you are supposed to promote friendliness, isn't it? And when you do so, what happens is, the Supreme Buddha explains, you think in a way that promotes friendliness.
As opposed to anger.
As opposed to anger. And so what happens is, you think things like, in the train of thought, like, may I be free from anger? May I be free from ill will? May I be free from hatred? May I be free from physical and mental suffering? May I be free from jealousy? And may I live happily? So you think in that, so that positive way of thinking, that train of thought, and then you little by little gradually extend your thought to others around you. So may all beings in my house be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy. And this way you extend it to other people. And so the Supreme Buddha explains, in doing this, the Supreme Buddha explains, you must spread loving kindness in such a wide aspect, where you spread loving kindness like a mother looks at her only son,
child,
only child. Now you have to understand this. In order to understand this, we have to kind of look into it. Now if you take a mother, how does she love her only son? All her love, all her kindness, all her love is directed towards that son.
She'll give in anything.
Exactly, and even the Supreme Buddha explains, she will even give her life to save that person, that child. So all her love is directed towards the son, and even if that son does, or son or daughter, the child does something wrong, then that mother forgives the son, isn't it? And
forgiving and
she's
very kind towards
exactly. So that love, that loving kindness, that friendliness that she has does not change even if your child does something bad, because that's something that's within a mother. And so the Supreme Buddha explains, that's how you must look at the whole world. Now it's not easy, isn't it?
Not at all.
Exactly, it's not easy at all, but it's something that you can develop. And what you have to realize is, now suppose there's someone, and when he gets angry towards a certain person, maybe he won't go and hurt him physically, or maybe he won't go and say words to hurt that person. He won't do it. He won't do any act outwardly. But when you're angry with a person, when that person becomes unhappy, when he gets down, when bad things happen to him, seeing that, you enjoy. You rejoice in it. Did you understand what I said?
Yes.
Yeah. So, however, if that same thing happens to your own son, you would never rejoice in seeing your own son being unsuccessful. Your own son, if something bad happens to your own son, you would never find pleasure in seeing it.
You have that personal affection towards your own
You have that affection.
Yeah.
You have that affection towards that son. So the Supreme Buddha explained, this is how you must look at the whole world. And you can.
But if you think yourself, try to recall yourself, whether you try to think, I have a mind, this mind is with lust, anger and delusion. And this body is also very temporary. And I should be more concerned about the mind than the body. So these kind of thoughts does not arise in our mind. So that's the difference between a Buddha and an ordinary person. That's why we go refuge to the Buddha. We worship the Buddha because now we have individually we have a mind, but we were unable to recognize our own mind. We were unable to recognize some people until they die, even at the face of death, even in the last day of their life, until the last day of their life, Not even in the last day of their life, they realize that they suffer because of their own lust, anger, and delusion. When they got angry, they put the blame on others. They don't understand that I get angry because I have anger in my mind. They always put the blame on others. But a Buddha said, lust, anger, and people would respect him. Finally, he understood that giving pain will not give realization to mind. Giving pain will never give realization to mind. Giving pain will never help us to overcome anger, delusion, and lust. Then finally he understood the path to overcome lust, anger, and delusion, and then he started meditating, purifying the mind. Where is anger? Is it in the muscles or in the mind? Now, anger arises due to unwise thinking or wise thinking? Unwise thinking, right? So, this is something to do with the muscles or with the mind? With the mind. So, then he decided to meditate, think wisely, and later he became a Buddha.
Not only that, educate your good friends or loved ones. We will meet you soon with another valuable video for your life. Please, subscribe to our channel, push the bell icon for notification about new releases. Thank you for watching the Sophistox channel.